So welcome to the AFT Construction Podcast, and today we're fortunate to have both Aymee and Molly with us, who are co-owners of Light and Dwell. So welcome, Aymee and Molly.
Thank you.
Thanks. So excited to be here.
Real excited.
Yeah, joining us from the Northwest, and we're here in Scottsdale, and I know we'll get into it. You had a presentation with one of your amazing clients in the Midwest, in Nebraska, and it's funny how, whether it be through social media or marketing or relationships you build with your clients, how now you have this vast client base from all over the country. And so part of that is virtual design, right? You have to be able to be mobile and work with clients. So was that always a goal? Did that happen because of COVID, or is this something that you focus on the virtual design end of things?
Yeah, we've been offering virtual design for the last 2.5 years. So really we were positioned in a good spot to have practiced and really, settled in on a process, what we deliver with virtual design, and then what we reserve for full service. So we really have two design services, one being full service and then the other being virtual design. Now with full service, we're still doing a lot of that virtually with COVID, but virtual design is just a trimmed down, really accessible price wise option for people who just need a lot of help on the finish selection and the furniture. So less on the technical drawings and all that goes with full service.
Right. So if I understand correctly, to understand, from my perspective as a builder, when I look at full service, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to hire Aymee and Molly, and you're going to do the full design book, right? You're doing CAD and you're doing renderings, possibly, full specifications of all my plumbing, appliances, whatever it may be. Whereas the virtual design, maybe a client say, hey, I live, whether it be Oregon or whether they be somewhere else in the country, they may say, I want to design my kid's bedroom, or we want to redo our kitchen. And so it's a little bit, I don't want to say surface level, but you're not getting in so much depth. It's more on the high level.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and we still do a lot of, actually, we do a lot of new builds through virtual design. But again, we're not, creating mood boards for the project and then redlining the plan and then coming up with all the interior drawings. We're just focusing on the finish selection and the furniture. So then they can take that to their builder, and again, from a price standpoint, it helps because the builder is going to start coming in and going, okay, I need to figure out, you need to tell me all the lighting, all the plumbing. And we like to say it's in kind of an isolation. We can't imagine trying to design a house in that way, but that's what they need, like their process. So we like to make all those selections for people up front, and then they can actually help the builder to know, because builder, you don't know what they're going to pick. So, hey, here's all my selections for each space broken down. How am I doing on my budget? And we can source within a budget. Hey, for this kitchen, can you please find electrical fixtures, for $1,200? So we're going to have two pendants and two sconces. So we can.
Well, it's important too, because yeah, I mean, when you think about it as a business owner, I mean, you want to be versatile. I mean, you can't be everything to everybody. You have to have a focus, but at the same time, there's still a big fishing net that you want to put out there, right? And you want to capture as many. And so there may be some clients that say, yeah, I need the full design book, but you may have some that, whether they're working through their custom builder or through their production builder, where they need some help. And you're like, well, we can still service those clients. We set up our program and operation a little bit different for them, but it's still a way to capture those leads and fulfill, that desire they have for a designer, because you may not be in their territory, and this is an easy way for you to connect with them.
Often as well, it's about timeline, because people are reaching out to us like, hey, we're starting our, they're going to start framing here or finish framing in 2 weeks, and I need all the selections. And it's like, what? How could you do that? We actually can. For virtual design, it's a very quick turnaround. But if we're doing a full, design book and all that, it's months of planning.
So talk about the difference. If someone reaches out and they're looking for a virtual design, typically what's that scope or timeline, as opposed to a full-on design book pre-construction that may take, 6 months of design for furniture and finishes?
Yeah. So I mean, I would probably say it's such a small number of people who actually fall into our full service design clients. And at the beginning, we just had full service. We didn't have virtual design because full service, it's the goal, it's the dream, it's what you can showcase, it's what you can market. But realizing that our audience was really asking for something else too. And so we spent a lot of time coming up with this other service, virtual design, where, it's very affordable, it's very approachable, it's all online. Um, and you get people who are DIYers to people who are building luxury homes, but they just need help with selections. And so that process, that timeline for virtual design usually takes around a month altogether when it's done. A client gets a mood board just on Pinterest, and then they also get a design board with all the selections, and then one of our virtual designers presents to them online. So they do a little video, and then they also get a full spreadsheet with links and budgets, and we incorporate things that they already have if they want us to do that. And then they just get one round of edits. So once that one round of edits is done, then we're done.
We hand it off.
We hand it off. It's done. Where full service, we have a full team of people on our full service team. We only have a handful of clients, a handful of spots. There really has to be all the stars aligned, for a full service client to sign and to connect. Just because it is such a deep, we almost call it the marriage service. Do we get along?
Can we communicate?
Who is their builder? Who's their architect? Is it a great team? Is it a great fit? And then, aesthetically, are they, is that fit as well? And are they wanting the hard finishes, the interior drawings, and the furniture? So it's those are really our two services. And I think a lot of designers have full service or they have virtual design, but to have a way where you can have both has been really beneficial to us, especially in this time, especially in 2020 with COVID.
Yeah, and you're very active on social media. And so how much of a role does that play in lead generation? Are most of your referrals coming word of mouth? Are they finding you through Instagram, through your blog that you're active on? Where are you finding the diversity of clients and how they reach out to you?
Instagram, I'd say primarily. We get a ton of interest there. And then we also have a lot of repeat clients. So
we like to joke. We have a few clients. We just wrapped one. This is our 5th full service project with them.
Wow, with the same client.
Who's just this was for her home, but she has vacation rentals all over the country, and even out of the country. And so we joke, it's kind of like tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, but what I see of people who get tattoos, they just don't know when to stop. You're like, another one. So she's our, and we just love her. But so repeat clients. And then I'd also say something that we've really discovered, and I don't think I knew that our industry would be like this, but we found such great community among other designers, just sharing of like resources and how do you do this, and such a generosity, especially when we were starting out and trying to figure things out. I mean, I would say you're one of those people that you would go on podcasts and then you started your own podcast, and we just took notes. We wanted everything you'd say, we would write it down, and then we have these other relationships with other designers who we share what we do. And so, there are things like maybe they don't do virtual design. So we get a lot of referrals from other designers that are like, hey, I'm either full or I don't have the capacity to take on a virtual design client, or the process, the backside of how to do that. So,
see, I love that you shared that. I think that's so valuable, because when you are looking at the value of a network, right? Yes, there's one part to, the key to marketing is you're trying to reach, you want everyone to know who you are, right? That's the value of marketing, is that if they know who you are, and then, you have to be able to close those projects. But a big part of the networking is, as you mentioned, it's how can we refine our business? I look at the mentors I've had. I was fortunate to be put in this Builder 20 group, which is very similar to what you're speaking of. It's a group of 20 builders, and I get with them twice a year, and they say, Brad, you're doing this wrong. You need to fix this. You're pricing this incorrectly. And so quickly you're getting this quick education because we're non-competitive, we're not in the same market. And it's an ability for us now to not only help educate the public, but our clients and designers and architects, and how can we form this synergy between all of us, right? But in addition to that, as you mentioned, like for me, as your business begins to take off, like it's happened with you at Light and Dwell, you're starting to see success, the name recognition, people are seeking your services. Well, you can't serve everyone. You just can't. Not everyone's a perfect fit. It's not only a personality thing, but it's maybe logistically or timing or schedule. And so, do you have a resource of other designers where now you can refer them? Because the worst thing is if client says, Aymee, Molly, we want you to design our home, and you're like, well, we can't, and too bad. But you'd rather say, well, we can't, but there may be a great fit or someone that can take you on. And so the referral base, I think most people don't realize the value of that network, because now you can have referrals from other people in the same industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's been, again, that, and I think just that, some people that we really admire and respect that are big, are, again, they're modeling that generosity and that just like normalcy of, they're kind of fancy and big, and we're like, I can't believe they would even, took the time. It means so much. We know they're busy. And so we just, we had another designer reach out to us today and want to connect. I was like, yes, I will talk to you because, we just want to
Yeah.
pay it.
I feel like in our industry when we started, everything felt really hush hush. Like nobody's really talking about their process. Nobody's talking
Yeah.
about pricing. Nobody
Yeah.
talks about like what their service is. And we kind of just took the leap and reached out to a bunch of people that we respected, and it's been great. It's been super beneficial for us, and now that people are coming to us for advice, we want to do the same. We want to be able to turn that around and meet with anybody, who's interested and who's just starting out.
So how often, with you being visible and educational, not only receiving that education, but giving it to other designers, how often as you're doing this amazing design and there may be some proprietary design or specifications or lighting or flooring, and we understand some of us sign NDAs on some projects, so that, that's out of the loop. But on the things that are not, where they don't have a non-disclosure, you know, how often do people reach out saying, what was that light fixture? And how, I don't want to use it for friendly, but how often do you like say, yeah, this is the light fixture we used. Here's the paint color we used. How often do you try to give that to your audience?
That's definitely been a dance for us, and we recently,
Because you spend a lot of time, right? Resourcing, and, you don't want everyone just to copy everything you've done.
yes, and our clients, it's
Yeah.
especially with full service, you're spending a lot of money for this design that's personal to you. It feels a little wrong to turn it around and then say, oh well, this is, you can swipe up to get this light, or here, go on our blog and you can get the exact look of this full service project. So we've changed it to where we don't share any of the actual sources for our full service projects, except for, if it's a paint color, or if a client is a little more open to some of the, a few things like the countertops, or what's the stain that you use on the cabinetry. But we don't, we used to a couple years ago provide that. And then we kind of changed it to, well, now we're going to share the projects, but do kind of get the looks, where we shared similar looking products, but they were different. They weren't the exact same. And now we've just cleaned it to where we say, no, we're not going to do that. It's private. We want our full service clients to feel comfortable knowing that we're not going to turn around and share that with our audience.
I think too, our clients, some feedback we got was, and what pushed me over the edge was we had a client be like, my sister follows you guys, and then like she can see what I spent on, it's kind of like, it just feels, they just felt kind of like, yeah, just that they wanted it to be private. And so we were like, yeah, I understand that. So, but how do people take that when we say that we won't give them? Yeah. Oh,
People don't
they
like,
don't like
you
that.
know, people on social media, they just expect you to give them all of your information, like everything. You're sharing this image with me, and the image is not enough. I need to know where this exact, light is from, and I need to know what fabric you used on that sofa. So, but I think we've turned it into a thing where most people actually, I should say, take it really great when we respond back and in messages and say, hey, thank you so much for reaching out, but because this is a full service project, we don't share the details and the exact products, but we have a lot of similar, you can get our style and aesthetic by going on our blog or on our shop page. So
And how often, I mean, to that point, so I understand the customer designer relationship of that, but from a designer to designer, let's say, that another designer specs something and you're like, that may be great, now that you're trying to copy another designer, or even a step further, maybe you're looking to increase your network of suppliers and furniture companies that you work with, so how often do you network with other designers just from a practicality, and to have a good database, right, of manufacturers?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that doesn't come up too much. I think that we've done a lot of, research, and we're, as a company, we're really trying to be more sustainable and ethically sourced in our products. And so that,
So what do you mean by that specifically?
so we're really trying to look at where products are made and how they're made, especially in furniture, for furniture. So
and what they're made of,
and so we're by no means are we perfect, and we're not claiming to be, but we definitely want to be more mindful in what we're selecting and not kind of turn a blind eye to how things are made. I mean, just we went to market. I think the real shift for us was we went to a market last year, and I think just this overwhelming sense of like, wow, we want to put quality pieces in homes that we're doing, and if we want to be responsible for what we're sourcing online. There's this big shift in clothing for that, but there hasn't really been for interiors, and we feel really passionate about that and really strongly about that. And like I said, we're not perfect at that, but we're definitely wanting to educate ourselves more. So I've seen some designers reach out about that. Hey, where are you sourcing these products from? But there's actually quite a few companies that are very open, very transparent, and I'm more than happy to share that with people, just because I think it is a really important thing to be aware of in our industry, and something that our industry could do a better job at being transparent about. So.
And I agree, and I think that happens from my side. I don't do a lot with the furnishings, as a builder, but the finish is the same thing. And even a step further, not only just the ethical side of where things are made and how they're created and the story behind it and where they're coming from, right? But also, I have clients now that whether it be healthy living or VOCs, right? Where's the product made and how is the finish applied? Because what VOC content is going to go in my house and now for my health, and then where we're looking at Delos, which is a company that does monitors like the air in the home and the water. These are things that people are very passionate about now, especially with our current health crisis that we've been dealing with for a year now. So we're seeing that, and that's why it's really important. I know for me as the builder, or you as a designer, to really understand a little bit of the history of where we're getting stuff, and how it's getting to our front door and in the home.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. And I think too, like, there's this tendency as designers to you know, and I know we're guilty of it. You know, we have to make money. What are we gonna be able to turn around and sell this product for? What's the wholesale account on this?
Especially if it's more expensive.
Exactly.
They usually
Clients don't like to hear that it's going to be more expensive, you know?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I think we,
Yeah.
in a way, we like that challenge a little bit.
Yeah,
To be
we like to be a little scrappy.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah.
So let me ask you about that, because that's the hardest thing what we do. I know in a perfect world, you're going to have a client that says, Molly, Aymee, okay, I got this amazing house. I want the full design. I have this generous house budget, even more generous furniture budget. Like, we're good to go. We know that's not always the case. So how are you vetting the client? Because a lot of us have seen stuff, whether it be HGTV or social media, and we may have a false sense of what things cost. And so how are you breaking down maybe the expectation, what the client wants, to reality, and then still making sure that at the end of the day that they do have enough for furniture?
Yeah, really from the get-go. So clients fill out a form on our website about their project. If we're talking about full service here. We connect, and that's one of the first things. We'll have a meeting over a phone call and review some of those things. Build budget. We'll talk about allowances. We have minimum allowances in kind of the big bucket areas, like tile price per square foot.
Cabinetry.
Yeah, all over light fixture budget, plumbing budget. So we like to put those numbers out there right away to say, how does that sound? You know, um, for furniture, we have a square footage allowance that we work within. If you look at projects on our website and you'd say, gosh, what's it take if you're gonna do your furniture for your whole entire house in one fell swoop, which most of our full service clients are. There's a lot of the last project we did, we did their project before that. They sold every piece of furniture with the house last time, and scale and size, it doesn't always go. And so if you're starting from scratch, what number should we kind of budget on? And we have a number. We say, look at our projects. It's going to be between $40 and $70 a square foot. So just do the math on your house, and that's ish. So if they faint, during
Yeah.
the call,
Which may happen.
resuscitate them. Then
Yeah.
or if they're like, yeah, that sounds about right, or that's they got to kind of figure that out, because that's not something they're rolling into their house loan. It's money you got to come up with. So
Yep. Out of pocket.
yeah, so we like that we have a square footage that we generally will say we design all the hard finish and soft finish, those two parts of the project, which are really kind of together but separate. In general, we're looking at $15 to $25 a square foot for the project. So just depending on the complexity of it, the size. So we get those numbers out right away, and then that helps people make a really informed decision. We talk about all the things that you get with that. We're going to be in a relationship for the next 18 months. We're going to be meeting weekly, and here's all the things we take care of. So yeah, we like them to know early on that we're on the same page with that. And that, I think, for us, we try to think of everything that we're going to bill on. We just personally don't like surprises, and we don't. I guess one other thing, we bid a flat rate for full service, which is different, because we just say we've tracked our time. We know in general what it's going to take. We know how to keep the project moving, and so we bid it up front. And
So when you say a flat rate, so I know it varies by designer. Some are hourly, some are square foot, maybe a total fee. So in essence, you may have, and we'll get into this because I think it's really important for anyone to have a database, have job costing. As a builder, I need to really understand different styles and aesthetics and what it costs me to build that house, whether it's hillside, flat lot, whatever. Same thing as design, like really understand certain styles and aesthetics of the customer. Well, we're going to need this amount of budget. And over history in our historical database, we know that furniture is going to be 40 to 70 square foot. These are numbers that are easy for me. If I was your customer, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I know what design fee is. I know what furniture is going to be. Now I got to figure out bill costs. Well, now I can put together my budget essentially for the house. With design, which is a little tricky, is that even if you have a flat rate, let's just say, my fees can be 100,000. Just speaking of that, to design your house. Okay, that's fine, but I may be that client that makes 5,000 changes. So how do you, I would assume this comes down to the contract side. Not to say it's bulletproof, but how often, I shouldn't say how often, but how are you monitoring the contract side or the expectation to say, look, if we design your whole house to be brass and now you want it matte black, well, that changes like everything. So we can't, we have to monitor how we're working through this process.
Yeah, we call it this is what our lawyer does. She doesn't call it a contract. She calls it an agreement.
An agreement? Yeah.
Agreement up front. We try to go through all those possibilities that, like, if you need to redesign, we call you, this is what your project will be all in if you don't redesign. So if you have to redesign, then we move to an hourly fee. We haven't had to do that so far because we keep, we feel like that's part of our job as well, is to keep it going and keep people, help them stay boundaried too within, like, it's fine. We can do it. We can redesign your house, but you're going to move into a redesign. So that's going to cost more money. And most of the time you're like, okay, they just, one of an example that we had a client say is, if you're, for example, if you write a song, you're a musician, you got to just finish the song. You got to just write the song and produce it. You could always just go another round and say, what if I just kind of tweaked with this little thing, or but it all layers upon each other. And so at some point, I think people appreciate that you got to decide, and then it's just execution time. It's the decision making. Molly will say, no more Pinterest.
Yeah. What happens? They may see posts you're doing and be like, oh, you just posted this yesterday. Like, that's such a great idea. I need that in my house now.
Exactly.
That's true.
I just, I think my job as a designer is to upfront give them a very clear, personal vision of their house and how their house in particular is going to be so great and so unique and so perfect to them. And then, of course, there's going to be edits. Of course, there's going to be a few revisions. But it's also my job to say, okay, well, once you've started to make too many edits, that now it's losing its luster. It's starting to look like a bunch of different houses and ideas that you've seen online. Your house is going to have some ideas that you've never seen before. And that's why you hired me as a designer, is to come up with those ideas that you can't just get off of Pinterest. And so I think having those real clear deadlines of, hey, the builder's not going to be happy. We're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy when you're not in your house in July, when you said you wanted to have, a big 4th of July party at your house in July. So let's stick to this, and it's going to be great. So just having really strong deadlines and being really clear about that, so.
Well, expectations. Oh, go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I just said in the agreement.
Yeah, in the agreement, right? That we know how those go. But I mean, the overall theme here is what you're speaking about. I mean, the advantage of the network you built on social media is we're educating the public. I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of people that may say, oh, I already know what I want. I don't need a designer, right? And I've spoken about this. The value, if that we're, I don't want to say instructing, but helping to educate the public is that there's a lot of work that the designer does behind the scenes that they have no idea. In fact, not only does it make my job easier and I can build more efficiently, but now I can also get better pricing, right? I can, I don't have to lock myself in with a certain kitchen and bath showroom, not to throw them under the bus. It's a different business model, right? I can have my designer design the cabinetry. Well, now it gives us some structure where we can price it with multiple cabinet companies. So all these things are great. And not only that, when you look at the end of the day, whether it be their end all be all home, the value of a designer, well, we all work hard. We come home from stressful days, maybe the pandemic is very stressful. There's value to coming home and being in a place where I feel inspired, in a room that's designed and comfortable. And, it's, there's so much elements there. And if I'm reselling my house, to have something from a designer where everything hits, that's going to increase the resale. So there's so much value proposition. And I've seen that as, you educating the public like Dwell, and then other designers, they see that. And it makes my job easier, because when I say I'm not going to do your job without a designer, they're like, oh, I get it. I see why. Right.
Yeah, we love that you say that. We love that. You're like, I like this guy.
Yeah,
Right
I
away.
like
Gets it.
Well, I can tell you my team loves it, because in the past, it's funny, we've, a lot of us worked for a big firm before I started AFT. So we've been 8 years, at AFT. And those projects were always tough. When we didn't have a designer, they were painful. And I mean, literally very painful. And now when we first started, you just don't have the company at a level where you can say we need to have a designer. And they were painful again. And then it's finally like, I don't care. I don't care our status. The reality is, if I don't have a designer, I know how painful this is going to be for me as a builder. So, and getting back to, I mean, you spoke about that. When you're doing full design, you're providing CAD drawings, you're providing elevations and details that I need, because the building plans, even with my best architects, they don't have any of that. And so there's so much unknown for me as the builder.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So how often do you get, I mean, from that side, okay, architect, because you're doing stuff back home, but you're doing stuff on a national level. So how involved do you get from the architecture side, getting involved in the interior specifics, and how that correlates with maybe location of the water closet, or, door swings, or, different layouts of room to room?
Yeah. So we've kind of tweaked it, and it's evolved over time. But now where things are at is we take a plan, when it's about 90% done from the architect. So we used to meet with the client at the very beginning, even before they had a builder. And then that just dragged on and on and on. So now we know really like the sweet spot for us to come in at is 90% done with the plan. And then we can come in and just redline it from more of just a design, design eyes, where, okay, I'm not really loving how the island is looking. I think it'd be really cool if the hood was here, or why is the fridge in this spot? Like, let's move it. So it's 90% done when we get it, and then we just kind of redline it, tweak it a bit, and then the architect hands it off to us, and once kind of everything is in its place, so we know where the sink is, we know where the fridge is, we know, and then we can take it and we can do all the interior elevations in detail, and then we present an interior presentation first, just in SketchUp, and then a video walkthrough before we put it into CAD, because
Wow.
we want to be
before the builder
before
has
the
to
builder
be even
yeah.
involved.
Uh-huh.
Like, you don't even need to know if we're going to change this 18 times.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do that first, because the CAD is so technical. If we were to do that before we presented all the hard finishes and the SketchUp and the video, it's a lot more work on our end to then go back and change everything. So we present everything in SketchUp video, do all the edits, and then we create the binder, is what we call it. So we have a binder for ourselves, for the builder, and for the client. Each one looks slightly different. The builder's is actually more detailed than the client's, and so then we'll do all the technical drawings, put them in the binder, put SketchUp in the binder, specs, and then like for all of our far away jobs, like our job in Nebraska, for example, we're going there in 2 weeks. We have it all set up with the builder to meet on site, walk through the house, walk through the binder, go through any questions that the builder has, and then we have it scheduled to walk through with the electrician. So we do everything like very scheduled when we're there. We go to, the slab yard if we need to, pick out
Big slabs.
we do everything. So it's worked out great for us. Been very efficient. But having those drawings and having very detailed drawings has been key, because especially on jobs that are far away, if anything is off, or which of course things happen, mistakes happen, but the less FaceTime, the less, we want it to be efficient, and we want it to be, we want to do all the work on the front end. So then when it's execution time, there's no surprises, and the design has been very clear. And then it makes it so the client is a lot more confident with the design, and we can say, okay, the binder's done. We're not going to go back and change out these lights or change out the plumbing, because we're not going to edit your binder. I mean, things will change, of course, but very rarely do things change,
substantially.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have it all online as well. But it's funny, I'm sure you're an online guy, but a lot of the people we work with and build
Or not.
with are not. Like, they're like, oh my gosh. It kind of kills me. Molly knows Amy, we have to do physical binders. I'm like, physical binders because there's changes, but we can't get some of the guys or gals that are working on the project, they're like, I really wish I could see this on paper, and so it's like, well, we just have everywhere like these could change, and all the updated things are actually in a software program that we have online. So
the problem is if you're not using, software, like we use Build-A-Trend, right? So Build-A-Trend's great because it's all automated, it's online. We can put the design book from our designers on there. And now there's no discussion, our team has iPads in the field so they can pull up the drawings, right? Because the problem with the design book, as you mentioned, it changes a lot. And if you're not taking those pages out and putting the new ones in, and it's funny because I always think of the ratio 1-4 in the sense that if I take a week of planning, that'll save me 4 weeks on the back end, right? And it's very common. Like if you don't have anything to decide up front, then I'm sure that's reality. That builder in Nebraska may be FaceTiming you every day if they're not up to speed on those drawings. And I think what's tough about, I know from my side of things, is some of my trade vendors and trade partners aren't as technologically savvy as they should be, and we're trying to help them get there.
yeah,
Which I'm sure you're trying to do too.
yeah,
fair statement.
We're trying to just both Molly and I, before we both were teachers, we went to school and so we feel like it's just different learning styles.
Yep.
And we want
They're a little behind. We're behind as builders. Like you gotta kind of just tiptoe us there. We'll get there eventually. So, content's super important, and you have amazing content. I know in our show notes, and we're going to tag you, and our listeners will know where to find you, but you have amazing content. And the hardest thing I would imagine about virtual design is, well, what's the end product? How do we get to see that? How do we get to photograph it? Whereas a full design package, typically you're so involved in furniture and finishes, the photography. So how do you manage the marketing of the virtual design, or do you spend a ton of time trying to chase that down?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a tough one, kind of ongoing, but I think it always comes back to, if you want the light and dwell look, you can go on our IG or go in our portfolio, and that's what our virtual designers are trying to give you, is a light and dwell look. And so you can be confident that your design will be on brand. We don't photograph virtual design clients for a reason, because we want it to be fast, efficient, and you are the one implementing it. And so if we tried to, photograph or style a virtual design client, they don't always order everything, or, it's not executed how we presented it to be executed, or, they're on the other side of the country. There's just a lot of variables. And so it's all just come back to, we have a lot of boards that we can send people if they're interested to see, well, what am I going to get? This is what you're going to get. This is the value. And then go to our portfolio page and see the type of work that we produce.
Which is really smart. I mean, that's the hardest thing. I know, it's a delicate balance. I know as a builder, like we have some projects and they're amazing clients, like good people. They've been great projects, but I know that they're not going to hit on Pinterest or Instagram, right? They're just, the style is very important to them, but it may not speak to everyone else. And so, as we're marketing our company, and so not every image is something that's going to be put on there, even though we're helping fulfill a need or service out there. And I'm sure it's the same for you. I mean, you would rather market, the design portion of your company, even though the virtual design is still a big part of that.
And we have done a few local jobs that we have gone in and photographed, or we've had some good influencers who understand how to take a photo, and they, because it's hard. Like, I can't take a photo. Anything you see Well, I'd be like, can you try that again, but put it in natural light? And it's hard, I gotta tell you. So, especially in a bathroom with no light, and so anyway, I think we've done it a little bit, but yeah, it's been tricky. You also, Molly just finished building a house, so that's done really well on social, and anything we do project wise personally, we share it, all of it. So
Well, I love that. And it's good you brought it at that point, Amy, because when you start thinking about photography, which is a whole nother segment, I had Jason and Dan on a while back with Raina Ryan, and Jason and Dan do my photography, and they've done it for a long time. But they get it. Like I could bring them in, and as you mentioned, they understand natural light. They understand how things look. And my anytime I'm asked by another construction company, like where should I invest? Like what's important to start a company? And I was like marketing, like photography. Think about like how can you showcase your work? Because I know so many amazing builders that have incredible product throughout the country, and they just are not capturing that because their photography doesn't do it justice. They're not investing the dollars behind it. And it's just like everything, it's an investment, right? And people can see and feel, I want that. And it's the photographers that really capture that with our designers, of course, that have made it look that way.
yeah, how do you do? So if you're doing we just know with a lot of the builders, they're like, whoa, they don't get to see a project with furniture. Like,
Yes.
people bring in their old, couch from a few years ago because they just bought
Yeah.
it, and they're trying their best, and they're maybe out of money or whatever, but they're always so like, oh my goodness, this is so fun. When you say you have interior designers on every project, do all your interior designers do all the furniture? And then if not, can you get good photographs? It feels to us, we're like, boy, if you just photograph this project without furniture, it's just not gonna.
There is no wow factor. Trust me. I've photographed projects that are just empty, like finished, and the finishes are good. There's nothing there so I won't photograph it. And we've been fortunate, I'll say, especially now, like all of our projects are with designers such as yourself that do the full design and furniture. So I would say everyone is doing furniture. And so for me, scheduling, yeah, the challenge for me as a builder or marketer, I should say, is that I may finish a project and I don't photograph it for 6 months or 8 months. Um, Typically it's right on maybe a month later after it's furnished and staged. But with COVID, or maybe things are delayed, or clients haven't made all the decisions and they're waiting on product, and we're like, well, let's wait till everything comes in. So I do have some of that, and it's just the patient game where I'm waiting.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. We try to
Yeah.
photograph right before the reveal. So we'll time the project, have all the furniture, sent to a local warehouse with the warehouse team. Our team comes, takes 5 days, sets it all up. On that last day, we photograph, and then that evening, and video, and then that evening, the clients come home and we do a reveal, and people are crying or swearing. Like goals in a good way,
Yeah,
like
that's always the goal.
good swear words.
Yeah. So how often, I guess, do the clients, so when you say the reveal, are your clients pretty engaged as far as the furniture selection, or do they say, surprise me, here's my budget, you kind of know my style? They never say surprise me.
Scared.
No.
We have a software program called Gather, and every item, you have a build budget, and then you have furniture, or a build project, and then you have furniture project, and they have to go in. They see every item, hundreds and hundreds of items, samples for each one. This is what this one costs, all in budget. So they see all those numbers, and they have to approve every one. And we try to order 5 to 6 months before the project's going to wrap, and to make sure we can get everything here in time. So, yeah.
Which is a big challenge right now with timing.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're having to do it even earlier now.
Yeah.
That's our job.
So how does the partnership work? From your side, getting into that, because Aymee, Molly, now you're business partners, you're working together. So do you divide and conquer certain parts of the company? Are you trying to be together on these bigger design projects? How does that work?
Yeah. So when we started, we didn't really know who was going to do what and what we were going to do. We had worked together before, so we knew we worked well together, and just the energy is good here. And so But now that we really know our roles, I'm creative director, lead design. So on all the full service jobs, I'm the lead design and then oversee virtual design and marketing and stuff. And then Aymee does all the important stuff. She does all the business. She does the initial like connecting with the client and kind of weeds clients out and puts them into full service, virtual design. And so we've really just established a mutual respect, and we're really lucky in the sense that there's really never been a time where um, I feel like we've
Are you checking?
crossed.
Are you
I'm
checking
looking at
me?
you like never been a time where I don't know. We work really well and we have a lot of respect for one another and a lot of trust. Like I trust Aymee with what she's in charge of. I trust her to bring clients that are going to be a great fit. And likewise, Aymee really trusts me on the design side and trusts me with vision. And so it's, I don't know. What
Yeah.
would you add?
Yeah. No, I would say, since we've been asked this question before, but people will say, what should people know? When they're gonna, they want to need a partner, what should they be thinking about? What questions they should ask? We're like, oh my gosh. I mean, we probably did it all wrong, but we knew we really liked each other. I think we knew each other pretty well. We had a chance to work together before. But still, we probably didn't know enough. It's like another little mini marriage.
It is like a mini marriage.
Yeah,
It's a big relationship. Yeah.
we're better together. I would have nothing to show you if I was doing interior design company by myself, and Molly would have a ton to show you, but she might forget to
Man.
invoice clients. She wouldn't have money. So or just a process, maybe. I don't know.
No money. That'd be my, yeah.
So it is a great, and I don't think we knew how much our gifts would fit together and how much we would just enjoy. We spend a lot of time together and we just really enjoy the time.
I think that's key. It always fascinates me because partnerships are so difficult. I think any relationship is difficult. It takes a lot of work, especially in business because things can go sideways really fast. But, it's no different than if you have employees. If you have clear direction, clear scope of work, people are very talented and they're empowered in their position, same as you. So, I mean, Aymee, I would say from the logistics side, right, from the operations, right, if that's your strong suit and you're focused on that. And now Molly from the creative side, she can focus on that. So she can run that department. And, I would imagine there's some good balance there where you're vetting clients, Aymee, and saying, okay, yeah, this one's going to be good. Their budget's right. Their furniture. Okay, Molly, you go and run. Their furniture is going to be X, Y, Z. Now you can get creative and just make sure everything aligns. And then I'll figure out deposits and scheduling and storage and maintenance and all that stuff that goes with it. So how is that, now moving forward? Because it's been, what, 5 years that you've been in business? Is that right?
6.
6?
Yeah.
It's 2015, right?
Load. Yep.
Amazing. So how has that, I guess, separation, I shouldn't say separation, but responsibility been assigned, and how has that, evolved over the last 6 years?
Yeah, it feels like, especially this year, or last year, 2020, we added a lot. We added a few more positions to our team. And we had a conversation where we just were like, okay. I think we tried so hard to always check with the other person, like over communicate. Hey, there's this thing, and I was going to say yes, but I want to check with you first. We would do a lot of that because we just really wanted to make sure we're both bought in. And there would be times where Molly would have maybe a strong feeling, like, ooh, I don't know, because, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. Good thing, So we had a lot of that, and I think we just learned each other, so much more along the way that this year, as we were adding some other key roles to our team, we just said we've got to do some more divide and conquer, and we have to really think about: do we both need to be on this phone call? Do we both need to be at this meeting? Can you just tell me the top 3 things that happened if I need to know about it? Otherwise, we'll just assume and really feel we feel real confident in one another that you got it and you'll inform me more. So
So a little bit more separation of church and state, if you will, from operations and design, like, so you're not spinning your wheels at the same meeting. And I think that's part of it. Like, how are you managing? How often do you meet on a regular basis to figure out like growth? And what I mean by growth is, how do we know that, Aymee, you're not bringing in and vetting too many clients and now you're bearing Molly with a workload? Like, hey, I just signed these 6 jobs. I vetted them. They're great. Their budgets are awesome. Good luck trying to finish these in the next 4 months. I mean, how often do you collaborate on schedule and timing for that workflow?
we're pretty big planners. So I feel like we're constantly assessing and asking that question as we go. I know how many clients I'm allowed to sign,
Yeah.
and I know when I'm allowed to sign them. And yet, if our team, if it feels like, oh man, this one was, because we'll have some projects that are very complicated and a lot more square footage, and then it's like that kind of slows us down on the technical drawing side. So okay, our team needs more time here. So we're constantly looking. I mean, we talk about it every week, several times. What our load is, even on the virtual design. You can go. We don't bid those jobs. You can just go and purchase a space or spaces, and so we'll extend a timeline, or we'll put a we're full sign on the website and say, you can get on a list and check back with us when we're allowing more. So we know we're constantly asking our team and assessing ourselves, because we don't want people to feel strung out, not able to go take a deep dive, hate their life. We really value like a better balance, and we feel like we can do better work that way. We both like to work really hard, but we want it to be.
But there has to be some work-life balance in there somewhere.
Oh man, and we've just
Yeah.
we before we knew, I mean, I think there's always that time when you're just saying yes to everything, and you're just really trying to get out there, and you don't really have money to hire people, and you're just figuring it out. And I think in that time we really realized, like, okay, we need to hire somebody for this, we need to hire somebody for that. And this process, for it to be done really well, we need to have at least this much of just dedicated time. Like, I know for me, when I'm doing a design, I like to tell the team, like, hey, I have just a week where I am just, nothing.
I'm in the zone.
I'm in the zone. I'm not thinking about other projects. I'm just thinking about this project, just so that it can be. For full service clients, like, I want the design to be as unique and personal as possible, and to really deliver something that they haven't seen. And so, in order to do that, I think we've just had to figure out, like, okay, well, this is how Molly works. This is how Aymee works. This is what this person on our team needs. And so I feel like we've gotten a really good flow on what that looks like.
And we talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
Which is important. So you two started in 2015. How long till you had your first hire? And then do you manage all the financials in-house? Do you work outside? I mean, how has that evolved? Just the accounting, financials, forecasting, deposit side.
That's on my side. Right away we ordered or hired. We have a bookkeeper, but that was key because I had a lot to learn in that department. But it's all in house. We had our first client was when we started it. We said, hey, if we the funniest part is this was a friend of mine. We had just done a house, took a 1950s and gutted it and redid it. And she was like, hey, I want to hire you to help me. So it's kind of funny because I was the designer for 5 seconds. Anyway, and so, we had been talking about going into business together, and this opportunity came up. So we said, hey, let's do this guinea pig. All my friends, she was willing, and Molly hates it because she looks back and goes, oh, I would do it so different. Of course you would, but it was our first one. And we just took that seed money and said, okay, let's just start this, and on a shoestring, and the two of us, and doing everything from taking the garbage and the recycling after an install to, getting coffees for each other to doing the books and
to making our husbands be the handymen to just
it was
just a complete.
it
I
was
mean,
a new business.
had 2 babies in that time frame.
Oh, yeah.
Wore 2 babies in slings. I mean, it was a whole just thing to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to see how things evolved. And now I guess with the marketing side, who is it that run or heads up that division and who runs your social media?
So we just hired somebody to do marketing. So now we have somebody on our team. But I did it for the first 5 years and then realized, man, I can't keep up. Even funny story this morning, even in that we're still figuring out the DMs. So on your DM, because you reposted, something, I don't even know if you run your marketing. You may not have been the one to.
I do our marketing. Yeah.
So our marketing person, her name's Lauren. She had responded back to you, and I just briefly, we have 2 inboxes, one that I look at and one that she looks at. So you're supposed to be in the one that I look at, but she responded and said, "Looking forward to it," and I thought it was you, so I responded back, "Me too." Like 2 messages, and I immediately texted her and I was like, "Remember, I need to stay in my DMs and you stay in all the other ones." So we're still figuring it out, and that's definitely something that I feel like social is like my baby.
Your baby, yeah.
But we have a great person in that position who's really gonna take it further. So yeah, we have somebody on our team doing that now.
Which is huge. I think I'm at the point where I need to look at that because I run our social media like Instagram and LinkedIn and stuff, and it's there's a lot to it, and I can relate because I know what it's like. Well, I'm not the creative director, but to be the creative director. But I mean, it really comes down to organization. And what I found is that, if you have people that believe in the vision of Light and Dwell, if you can empower them and you can put them in their wheelhouse to be successful, like that's going to breed success in your company, allow you to grow and to take on new clients. So what's upcoming and exciting for both of you that you're excited about for 2021?
Oh man. Well, I think this year, we've had some projects that we've just been working on for a really long time, across the country that are wrapping. And so we'll be able to share a lot of those this year, which is really fun and exciting because I feel like it's that first round of like, every client is our dream client, but I would say now we're to a place where we can be so picky in our projects. So I feel like this year is really kind of that first batch of projects where I feel like it's really us and clients aren't showing us other designers or whatever because we've developed our portfolio. So it's really, we've really been able to be ourselves in these projects. So I'm really excited to show those.
I would say I'm excited to see because, again, Molly does all the creative side. I'm really proud of you with that, with all those different projects because you will look at them and see the thread of Light and Dwell, but they're all so personal to each client. Each one of our clients is at a different stage of life and different design, kind of like, it's within our bandwidth, but it's kind of all over the bandwidth. And I think what I feel proud of is that you do such a good job listening to the client and that when they walk in, they're like, it's me, but times 100. Like I could never achieve this, but it's me. We don't want them to say like, wow, this looks like, well, I mean, that's not the goal. We want our thread through there, but I just think there's going to be some wows and like, whoa, I mean, there's just some fabulous ones. So
I love that you ended it with that you're talking about that you want it to be the imprint of them, and their lifestyle and how it looks at the end result. And there is some satisfaction. I can relate. I think, when you get to the point where your business has been, tried and true and you understand your wheelhouse per se and your scope of work, and now you have the projects that now it's not that you didn't have great projects before, but now you really are hitting your stride with budgets and design and aesthetic where like, this is us, like this is what we are. I mean, that's very exciting to get those photographed. And I guess before we close, I do have to ask you, I know we touched on this, but 2 things, as designers, what's your favorite aesthetic or style, and then why should a client hire a designer? I mean, I always like to ask that because what do you tell a client when they say they should hire a designer?
What you say? What your favorite? My favorite design aesthetic is whatever Molly tells me. So why don't you share from both of us?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I don't like putting a word on it, but you know, we tend to be drawn to a lot of neutral palettes, warm tones, a lot of texture, earthy styles. So I don't know if that's really saying much, but we like
That's just a lot of words.
we like the light and dwell look. I don't know. I don't know.
No, I get it. I know exactly what your style and what you're doing.
What's
So
your style? What's your style?
what's that, me?
What's
Yeah,
your favorite?
because I feel like
Um,
you do so many different things too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I get that a lot because we have styles that are like super modern, like super ultra modern, and then we have very transitional. We have a lot of the neutrals and textures, and then we've done like the very traditional. So, we've been all over. And for me as a builder, I'll say I love to work in all styles. And the reason being, it makes my day very different, right? Because we're doing all these different aesthetics. I can say as a builder, like doing the ultra modern is so fun because it's so precise. It's so difficult. Like from a technical standpoint, just concrete, steel, glass, and making that all work. And then the building science side, it's very tough. So I like that challenge. But I'd say aesthetically, for me personally, that's not really a style I'd live in, with kids and stuff. And just me personally, I do like the more neutrals and light and bright, natural light textures. To me, wallpaper I love, which is kind of funny because it was like some people are like wallpaper's making a comeback. I'm like, oh, there's some good wallpaper out there. Trust me. So it makes all the difference, as you both know.
Yeah. Woo, preach.
Totally.
So we're excited. So where can our listeners find you so they can see this amazing light and dwell look?
Well, okay, Light and Dwell at Light and Dwell on Instagram. We have a YouTube. It's very no high expectations there, but
New.
we're growing.
Oh, they're good videos though.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, so you can see our project videos, Light and Dwell, and then our website, lightanddwell.com. Am I missing anything?
Did you say Pinterest?
Pinterest?
Pinterest, a must.
That's a huge one. Yeah.
That's it. That's mainly it.
Yeah.
Well, we're super excited. And I can't thank you enough, Aymee and Molly, for sharing a little bit about your business, your skill set, what you bring to the industry, and especially sharing the insight on the value of, marketing and networking, all these things that we should be doing as business owners. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Hopefully we can do a project together.
That's the goal.
Absolutely.
That would be fun.